Um, 826, Patrick in Miramar.
Yep.
What's going on, my brother?
What's going on? I'm all right, Ben. I think there's something that we're missing,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I missed it as well. It's very nuanced, but Chris Hayes actually touched upon it. I think it was his last segments today on the show. Is that we're witnessing the policing of the conversation on the Democratic side, and particularly Iowa very well may be the first domino that's fallen as a result of the DNC limiting the debates, putting them in times that we can't see them, and limiting engagement because they're trying to figure out why the Democratic turnout was significantly lower than Republican turnout.
Right.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, they're coming off a Democratic president, so I'm sure that gives more incentive to come out and caucus. But I mean, we're talking about almost more than 100,000 voters less.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a significant decrease. And they're talking about the Democrats have committed, I think Katrina Vanden Heuvel said this, professional malpractice. They've conceded the conversation to the Republican Party.
Yes.
They were always on debates. It was always on prime time. Of course, the Trump thing amplified them, don't get me wrong. But there wasn't a Democratic narrative. Even before the first DNC debate, it was almost a month and a half after the Republican debate.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this has become the dominant narrative. So I want to see if New Hampshire and Nevada is the same way. Because if that is, to me, I think that's even more devastating than electing Hillary Clinton. The fact that we have policed the conversation so much and we've catered it and sacrificed getting the message out there just to elect one person.
You know what? I absolutely agree with that assessment, and particularly by the fact that we are responsible for the excitement in our base. We pretend as though we don't have something to be excited about. By pretending as though we don't have something to be excited about, it protects the establishment. It protects, it so-called protects President Obama's legacy. But that's a very myopic view of what life is really about and what achievement is really about. I do not want my son to protect my legacy by only accomplishing what I accomplished. That is not success. I want my heir apparent and my daughter, my son and my daughter, to run much further than I could have ever imagined. And the way you honor President Obama's achievements is by doing more than what President Obama did. You don't just enshrine us in this moment. They're trying to, in order to elect Hillary Clinton, they are stifling the conversation so that they can keep us from ever getting excited about doing more. And in order to do that, they must enshrine the Democratic movement right where President Obama is, meaning we don't want to go further. That is the quintessential definition of conservatism, to hold us at a point in time where you can control the political conversation, where you can control the political outcomes because it fits neatly into your personal benefit. And that is what has happened across the board, from Debbie Wasserman Schultz down to all of the Hillary bots online who are just insisting that everything that President Obama did is the best way that we respect it is by not doing anything else. Instead of saying we can do even more and we can stand on his shoulders and go even further. Something like that, Patrick, would have galvanized progressives across the nation, where we could have said we did so much with President Obama, but we can do so much more. And if you guys come and get out and you vote, then we can build on the achievements of President Obama, and we can go even further into the progressive values that he stood for, but he could not achieve them all because of an intransigent Congress. That message would have resonated so much that we would have maintained a record turnout, but instead we had record low turnout.
Yeah, and the last thing I add is that, but if anyone tries to even inject that narrative, they're shut down, and not just by the TV media. We've seen the Washington Post. I mean, there has been a policing of what's considered acceptable discourse on the left that I've never seen before. I've seen it on the right,
Right.
but I've never seen that kind of
But Patrick,
policing before.
they're doing the job of the right. People like Chris Matthews is out there making it terrifying to believe, to even consider somebody like Bernie Sanders, because he's labeling him as a socialist in the pejorative sense, as if it's something to be feared. And so they're policing the conversation, they're controlling how wide the Overton window is, and they're manipulating they're suppressing their own voters, because progressives, by definition, we may be idealistic, but it's because we believe, we vote based on inspiration. Tell me an election where we came out and voted in record numbers because we were angry, right? President Obama in 2008, we had every reason to be angry at George W. Bush. But that's not what got us to the polls. What got us to the polls was the inspiration that Barack Obama channeled through us. Patrick, thanks so much for the call, man.
As always, thank you, man.
Awesome. 857-600-05.